Week 4 of college football has come and gone, and we are on to week 5. Before we dive into the bets, let's take a quick look at last week. 5-4 overall puts us to 24-19 at plus 0.52 units last week. Overall puts us to plus 1.92. So not the greatest week, but still a solid week. And once again, we had a couple that were just barely missed. Maryland plus 10.5. That one was about as easy as a bet could ever get. Maryland was clearly the better team against Wisconsin. They did not really have any troubles with the Badgers on the road. Malik Washington, I think he's going to be a special player. Next win is going to be Miami -7. That one was, again, another as easy as it's going to get. Baylor, Arizona State, a 27-24 win for Arizona State, under 60 there. That one was a solid win there. Colorado State loses by 1. They almost won that game. Plus 4.5 was a good bet there. And then Michigan State, USC over 55.5. That one looked like it was going to be an easy one as well. So the wins looked really good and they hit with relative ease. Some of the losses that were a little bit frustrating. Nebraska plus 2.5. They lose by 3. Tennessee lets up a couple of touchdowns late in the game, which was frustrating to watch. But again, the backups, I'm relying too much on the backups here. -39.5. Honestly, I would do that one again, but it was just, if giving up 24 points with most of it coming at the end was a little bit disappointing. ECU plus 6.5 was not a good one. Southern Miss plus 3.5 also didn't look great. So those two, not the best picks. Moneyline Texas Tech, that one was a good one. And then Auburn plus 255. I would do that one again. That was a close game and really felt like they had a chance in that one. But that is last week, and we'll point out channel went 8-2. You guys are doing a great job of the picks, of the polls, so make sure you're voting on those. 30-14 overall on those straight up picks. But let's dive into this week. We talked about this in the previews, and we have quite a bit of exciting opportunities for picks this week. We'll start with Friday night. And ECU and Army are two teams to keep an eye on that have gotten off to slow starts. And I think that's going to be the case with both defenses. Army's offense, while it does run that triple option, is going to have to figure out who their quarterback is going to be and if that quarterback can be efficient. ECU's offense had some struggles last week against BYU. I'm going to go with the first half under 26.5. I do think that these two teams will struggle to get things going. It speaks kind of to their offenses, but also their defenses deserve some credit as well. So that is one to keep an eye on there. I don't have any others on Friday. Florida State against Virginia. That one, I think that the over for the total for the game got too high, but that is one, if you got it early in the week, that is one that I think that it would have been really fun to get. TCU, Arizona State. I lean towards Arizona State there, but I think that one is going to be a really fun matchup. Houston and Oregon State. Houston on the road as double-digit favorites. I don't necessarily know if I like that, so we're going to stay away from that one there. The morning slate has quite a few games that will be interesting. Now, there are some games that I did not pick. I do think that USC is going to take care of business, but I don't know how they're going to do on the road. They didn't struggle against Michigan State, but they gave up 30 points to the Spartans. So I don't know if they're going to be able to win comfortably, but we will find out pretty quick. Notre Dame and Arkansas, the line is moving down quite a bit, but that is one to keep an eye on in terms of betting there. You could almost even take the over under as well. That one is a very intriguing potential bet there. Rutgers and Minnesota. Now, these are two teams that are in a little bit of a different place. And Minnesota has struggled in the first half, and especially in the first quarter so far. And again, it's a small sample size, but this is not a team that's gotten off to hot starts. Rutgers is kind of the opposite. They've gotten off to fast starts. Ethan Kaliakmanis has looked pretty good. And I think that they are going to, right now, we're going to take Rutgers plus 1.5 in the first quarter. I think that Rutgers is going to get off to a good start. Unless Minnesota has a way to slow down that offense, I think that the Scarlet Knights will be able to keep it tied or take a lead in the first quarter. I do like Minnesota in the game overall, but I think that Rutgers gets off to a fast start. Duke and Syracuse, again, I really like what Duke is doing right now, and I will actually take the Blue Devils -5.5. I think that you're going to have questions about this Syracuse offense without Steve Angeli. Maybe they play motivated for Ricky Collins. There are plenty of talented players for the Orange, but Duke might have also turned their season around. We'll find out. I talked about how Duke could be a dangerous team for the rest of the season, and we'll find out if truly that is the case. Louisville and Pitt, I'm not really touching that one. That one's a line of 3. Don't really want to go there. Cincinnati and Kansas. I think this one is going to be a fun matchup. Both offenses have some explosive ability, and for that reason, I'm going to go with the over 55 for the entire game. That one is going to be really fun. UCF Kansas State, I don't know what to expect there. That is a very intriguing matchup, but in terms of bets, I don't feel confident in that one. South Alabama and North Texas. I'm going to go with the first half over 30.5. Both offenses are, I think, really explosive and can get the job done. The defenses maybe not so much. I think this is going to be a high scoring affair right off the bat. Even though South Alabama is 1-3, don't get that twisted. They are still a team that is capable of putting up points. Georgia Southern, James Madison, that one I would probably lean JMU right now, but I'm not going to touch it with the line being what it is. I believe it got all the way up to 17.5, 18, so not going to touch that one there. Then we go to the afternoon slate. As much as I'd love to take Washington as an 8.5 point underdog, I don't know. It's one I'm going to keep an eye on. That one's definitely going to be interesting. We'll see if it creeps up towards that 9.5, maybe even 10. Depends on what it looks like at game time. LSU and Ole Miss. I do think that it was funny to see Lane Kiffin say take the over, and just for fun, we're going to take the over 54.5. If LSU's defense can stop Ole Miss, then that's going to be a rough bet, but Trinidad Chambliss has looked really good, and I'm going to trust that they're going to get the job done there and be able to put up some points. So I'm going to go with the over 54.5. Texas A&M and Auburn, I'm taking Auburn plus 6.5. I think last week was disappointing. They may have felt like they got robbed. They are going to bounce back in a big way. So I'm going to take the Tigers plus 6.5. Indiana, Iowa, as much as I love to think that Iowa is going to have some magic left in their system, and maybe they are. This is one of those games that every once in a while Iowa just has that magic. I am going to take, though, Indiana -7.5. I think that the Hoosiers are just way too good right now. They are on fire and almost unstoppable in a way. And now that I say that, they're probably just going to get smoked. But Indiana -7.5, we're going to go with that. We feel pretty good about that one. Cal, Boston College. I think Boston College is going to win this one because Cal has to go cross country, but I'm not going to touch that one. Baylor, Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State is playing their first game without Mike Gundy. I think it's going to be a disaster. Baylor -20.5 we will take there. Utah, West Virginia. I think Utah gets back on track, not touching that one. Same thing with UConn, Buffalo. San Diego State, Northern Illinois. Honestly, I went back and forth on this one. I do like what I see from San Diego State. I thought they could be a better team under Sean Lewis, but Northern Illinois is playing at home, and this is a team that typically has a few surprises up their sleeve. Rice and Navy, I'm not really touching. I would almost go with the under for the total if I'm going to bet something there. Other afternoon games that we will look at here, just making sure I didn't miss any of those. No, we're good. Okay. Tennessee, Mississippi State. Tennessee and Mississippi State have two explosive offenses. I really like what they could potentially do in terms of scoring. You look at what the Tennessee-Syracuse game was. The over-under is 62. This one is a bit of a stretch, but I think this is going to be a fun matchup. Over 62 for me there. Arizona at Iowa State. I think a lot of people expect Iowa State to win this one. It is going to be tough to win on the road, but I think people are still sleeping on Arizona. I will take Arizona plus 6.5. Another one that's not listed here is going to be Old Dominion and Liberty. I'm going to take Old Dominion -16. Liberty looks like a disaster. Old Dominion has looked good in their 2 wins, one of those being against Virginia Tech, and their one loss to Indiana. They played the closest game to Indiana of anybody on their schedule. So that speaks to me. I like that. I think Old Dominion is going to be fairly good there. So we're going to feel confident with that. Nothing on the rest of them. Western Kentucky, Missouri State. That is one. The over under got too high, so I don't like that one anymore. But if you got that one early, I think both teams are going to put up a ton of points in that game. Memphis FAU not going to touch that. Going to the night slate, we're going to start with Oregon at Penn State. Penn State is a 3.5 point favorite, and it's a whiteout. It's going to be fun. I like what Penn State could potentially do, and I just don't know if they're going to be able to cover a 3.5. We'll find out how good this team actually is, and we'll find out how quickly they can make Dante Moore's life a bit miserable. I think this game's going to close. I do think that Penn State wins, but I'm going to take Oregon plus 3.5. I think that the Ducks are going to be able to compete in this one, keep this one relatively close, and we'll see how that all shakes out. You see Alabama and Georgia. Georgia is a 2.5 point favorite now. There are most of them that say 3, but Georgia has a 2.5 out there. I will take Georgia minus 2.5. I do like the Bulldogs. I think they're going to take care of business, even though Alabama's playing better. I think it's been against weaker competition, and that's why. Missouri and UMass. UMass is just awful right now, 0-3, and the line is actually all the way up to, well, it's actually down from the preview. It's 43.5. We're going to take Missouri minus 43.5. This is a game that I think Missouri could potentially score 60 points, maybe even 70. And I don't know what it is about these big lines, but I'm going to keep trying to take those as much as I can. We're getting close, and maybe I'm learning a bad lesson here, but we're going to take Missouri minus 43.5 there. The only other game that I have as a bet is Kentucky, South Carolina. I'm going to take the first half under 22.5. I don't think either team looks overly impressive offensively, and we'll see if South Carolina's offense can put up points. If they can't, that one's going to be relatively easy. That one's a little bit of a difficult one. Other ones that I'm keeping an eye on, Washington State, Colorado State, and BYU, Colorado. I think that those are two potentially interesting games, and those are ones that I'm definitely going to keep an eye on in terms of once they get closer to the game. So to summarize, we're going with ECU Army first half under 26.5, Duke minus 5.5, Rutgers first quarter plus 1.5, Cincinnati, Kansas over 55. South Alabama and North Texas first half over 30.5. Indiana minus 7.5 on the road against Iowa. Baylor minus 20.5 against the Mike Gundy-less Oklahoma State Cowboys. LSU Ole Miss over 54.5, the Lane Kiffin special. Auburn plus 6.5. Tennessee, Mississippi State over 62. Old Dominion minus 16. Arizona plus 6.5. Missouri minus 43.5. Oregon plus 3.5. Georgia minus 2.5. And the Kentucky, South Carolina first half under 22.5. It's a big week. This could go one way or another, and we're hoping it's going one way in the positive direction. Money lines that I do like, I'm going to take Bowling Green plus 320. I think that they have a chance to potentially surprise Ohio. They've been a lot better than people expected. And then just for fun, really, we're going to go with App State plus 550 at Boise State. I think a lot of people are sleeping on App State, and Boise State hasn't exactly looked dominant. It'll be interesting to see if Boise State can actually bounce back and show that they are the better team. And if App State pulls out the win, even better. Let me know what you guys like. What do you like from this week? What bets are catching your attention? Even money lines, whatever you want to put down in the comments. Comment below what you're looking at, what you like, what you dislike. As always, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in the next video.